Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spinner Rack. We also have
Calvin Ellis, ready to rock.
today we are doing a trailer on the Creature Commandos. And before we play this trailer, we're looking at this shot here. What does this shot look like?
Reminiscent of something.
X Force, Deadpool 2.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. We'll see you later.
Here we go. So, can't beat them, copy them.
General Flag.
Oh my goodness. What do you say, sir?
Okay, what game is this again? This was a creature suicide commandos.
Die, Nazi!
Yeah, it's having something so similar to your Suicide Squad. Even
Without a
from
doubt.
yeah.
There's the music. I mean, it's not just it's the it's the whole idea of like the pretty much. I mean, this is a Dirty Dozen, which is the original Suicide Squad, if you will. But you got the characters. They're offbeat, off the wall characters. They're going on this suicide. They're going on this suicide run, and they're doing it to classic rock music.
Yo, all right, we got. I mean, I'm sorry. You were on, and I want to say, I was going to immediately say rant. You were on the logical rant that, hey, they should be doing more superhero stuff when you were talking about Penguin, right?
Right.
I'm saying, yo, why can't we do some hero stuff instead of the Suicide Squad, Harley and Ivy, and all these things? The closest we got is we got the Superman
Because they don't think it's sells.
adventures, huh?
They don't think it sells. They think. And I mean, I've said this before. The superhero universe was not created for adults. It was created for kids.
Like,
Created for kids. And when these guys look back on it, they always look on it with. If you're a kid and you look at the adult stuff, the stuff that adults watch, you don't care about any of that. It's boring and it's stupid. But when adults look back on, adults should be a little bit better because they look back on the stuff and they're like, oh, how look how cheesy it was, look how corny it was, how stupid. And I'm like, but it was never meant for you. It was meant for a kid. You don't remember what it's like to be a kid. So then they think, okay, the only way we can take this stuff and make it palatable for people is to make it darker, okay, and make it, something that an adult can sit through and not feel ashamed watching. That is the big approach overall when it comes to superhero stuff. That's why but they encapsulate all that in one word: grounded. Grounded. The less power, the better, and the more, uh, the more neutral, the more this person can do evil stuff, and we don't have to, bat an eye, even
mhm.
do even that. Those are the characters that they really want to flirt with. So Creature Commandos, to be quite honest, if they hadn't done this type of stuff already with Suicide Squad, I can't really say Galaxy of the Guardians. That's more the music stuff. But we've seen this type of grouping, before, and so this isn't really something fresh or new for us. We understand that we have these type of cats between the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker. We know these type of storylines and these type of characters, but they've got to show that you can do some superhero stuff as well. And they're not, they're just not. I guess they're just not there yet.
It's the thing is this is the part that always kind of puzzled me about the DC moving into the movies. And well, I mean, at the same time, we did have Justice League Unlimited, which I guess the cartoon people wanted to do, but the mainstay for DC was all those years of the Super Friends. So even if for the 2 seconds Spider-Man and his amazing friends might have been a little better than the Super Friends. The Super Friends gave you what you needed in the cartoon. These guys just handling business. Now they didn't sound that tough, but it was basically showing even in the beginning of it. And like giving us something that doesn't have to be total Super Friends, because obviously that's a little too soft for these sort of things, but just have some people of action doing these things for the right reason and in the cartoon mode, because it feels like with the cartoons, it's just kind of like you need to have it be very graphic and very much like I mean, even though who's this guy? Family Guy has made it um, more prevalent to use blood in the what's the name. I think The Simpsons had one moment where they kind of did that, and I was just like, oh, so Family Guy stole everything from The Simpsons, and he just upped the ante on this. But it's like we had this mainstay of the Super Friends that would just somehow on TV all before Spider-Man's on and his Amazing Friends and after. I can say that because Spider-Man's Amazing Friends just went into repeats at some point. So there was never a new season. It was just running through the same old episodes. So I
They
just
never
think
told us.
that,
We had no idea. How many times did we get up and we were like, "Hey, come on, where's the new episode?" Like, what do you mean there's no new episode? You had no idea. It's like it's over.
I didn't have band practice anymore. So I'm like, I'm getting my Saturday mornings back. And it's like nothing new, nothing I hadn't seen after all this time I haven't been watching cartoons. It's like on the weekends.
They did that to me and my brother. There was this cartoon series called Mighty Max. We loved that show. Okay, and but this was the old format where you maybe got the first season was about 12 episodes and such, and then the second season they gave you a bunch more, like 40 some
Mhm.
odd episodes, and it was really good. It was a very well written series, and we get to the last episode, and they kind of ended it on this loop. So like me and my brother were like, well, maybe they'll continue on, and they never told us it was canceled or anything. I don't know how many days we got up like this is over, right? This is terrible. It was like no, they never told you that type of stuff, but that was always a portion of being in it, especially in those days where if you missed it, you missed it. You never know if you were going to see it again. Like with the fantastic that second series of the Fantastic Four. You know the one I'm talking about. The one
Yeah.
was where they split the hour with Iron Man.
Hmm.
There was an episode where the Black Panther appeared. I never saw that episode. Okay, I never saw that episode. And then I found out. I think in some places that episode wasn't in rotation
Yeah.
because I would watch and I was like, okay, and I even went so far as to find out what is the episode number. Okay, episode 6. I made certain episode 1, episode 2, and for some reason it always skipped episode 6. I had to literally reach out. This is like the old days too. I had to reach out online and find somebody who was willing to. They sent me a recording of it so I could finally see that episode. So it was really one of those things where if it didn't come out, you didn't see it, you couldn't, you just missed out on it at the end of the day. It's not quite the same here, but the approach to this stuff is like these aren't like I don't know. It's kind of disheartening to it because as much as they want to come over and say, well, look at the Super Friends and blah, the Super Friends, the ratings were fine, and the Super Friends was on TV for like the better part of 2 decades.
Yeah. It
They
was
got a lot of they got a lot of mileage off that series because it did exactly what you said. It was entertainment for kids, and kids kept tuning into it. They didn't care if it was well, nobody really liked Marvin and Wendy, but they didn't care if it was Marvin and Wendy or Zan and Gina with the Speed Spinky Glee or the Super Friends Superpower show. They wanted to see a certain type of thing with action, and they delivered. Now a lot of it becomes this no, it's just very weird. Like, oh, we don't want to make it too childish. I'm like, so you're not going to have a new generation of viewers who grew up with this stuff. It's just going to be people who are adults, and you're going to keep pulling in adults to this. Doesn't I don't see how that works long term. But DC has had a bit more of an issue with that than Marvel because you remember that interview where the Stan and Julie Schwartz and the guy reading the book is like, I wouldn't give this to anybody over the age of 12. And I'm like, why would you? It's a comic book. You're not supposed to be reading this stuff. You guys should be out there trying to now read higher level literature, if that. And Stan is just over there smirking during the interview. But DC always thought to compete with Marvel that they needed to, put stuff out more that was more mature, that would at least be perceived as more adult. Even in the Bronze Age, like late Bronze Age, and they would have that corner box, and it would say DC Comics. They're not just for kids,
Yep.
and you could see
Yeah.
what they were trying to do. The whole idea was like, no, because and these were other kids. These were other kids. It wasn't like they were adults saying, "Hey, yeah, Daredevil's better than Batman." No, these were kids. Like, oh no, we're reading Marvel, so we're reading the more adult stuff. Like, no, this is still kid stuff for you too.
Well, I mean, you know how kids are. Like the kids definitely, oh, you read that crap, those crappy, they read those kiddie comics. I mean, my mother, when she was bringing us to the comic store, she didn't want us to And her thing was she didn't want to read Archie. Like she was kind of like, are they gonna go like what me and my older sister went for the Superman and Superboy and Batman type of thing? So kids get that sort of thing. It's just like, but
Archie
at
is
the
the
same
best.
time, I think what was it my sister and then my friend's daughters. Like I was real surprised when my sister was saying, "Oh, when the Rugrats got bad." I was just like, "Oh, okay." So the same sort of things we do as a kid are. And what's the names? My friend's daughter were real small. And they're going through the TV said, "This is boring." The kids could be tough. So, but yeah, same for me with the Super Friends. I loved it up until the superpowers, but mainly the issue was Darkseid was going too much trying to catch Wonder Woman, and then came too much of Firestorm and Cyborg. And because the same thing would happen with the Wonder
Well,
Twins. We're just
those
like,
are the
yo,
things.
enough
Yeah.
Wonder Twins. Except for Evil Gleek. Evil Gleek was okay. That was ill. I got to
No,
give
no,
that to
that's
him.
the reason why they put Cyborg and Firestorm on the show because they were like, oh, these are the youngest characters. We're gonna, try to get those, we're trying to get the kids in there, so on and so forth. Even though, of course, you had Robin, and he never got that much light.
Yeah.
When he was on there, but he was always partnering with Batman. He was never gonna get like a solo episode or anything like Firestorm or Cyborg got. But no, you it should be fun. It shouldn't be formulaic. And if you can do Creature Commandos, then to be honest, I would love to see them do something like if you really want to do something where it's a cartoon and it has to be more serious, you would do something like Commandy because they've never really tapped that or gone as far with it as they could. Actually, they haven't really done too much with it. Commandy's like here and there, but you could easily do Commandy. You have the whole dystopian future, the last boy alive, trying, definitely have the, survival thing going on. Do that. You could definitely do that and you can unapologetically, make it more serious, but you would still get kids to watch it. You
Hmm.
would still get kids to watch it because the same way Commandy for me is just like it's pretty much in the same vein of something like Thundar the Barbarian. There's just no
Yeah.
sun sword or any magic for the
Yeah.
most part.
Hmm.
So, you could just do it on that. And you could still slip in a DC character here and there. If you do like an episode with the Mighty One, you can still get all that stuff done, but they don't tap those particular things. Or, you do some Jonah Hex. And, I think at one point they did do something like that. That was they did a cartoon. This is when they were still doing like those sort of releases, and they would focus on this character or that. So they did one that was like DC Showtime, and it starts off with Superman and Captain Marvel. It was Captain Marvel's like official introduction, but they also had Jonah Hex was on the show. Uh, the Spectre was on the show. Green Arrow was on the show. So you get different looks at them, but they never followed up with it. They
Hmm.
never followed up with it at the end of the day. So if you were somebody who was like, "Oh, this is great," I think that was one thing I have to give Justice League Unlimited a lot of credit for because it did introduce you to a whole bunch of these other characters that were just laying around the DC universe. Everybody from
Yeah.
Vigilante to the Shining Knight, and you're like, "Oh, this is much wider than you might have imagined." And anybody who they introduced, they didn't punk any of these guys. They didn't bring the Shining Knight just so he could be flying on a horse and then get slapped off, and
Hmm.
then just get slapped off, and Wonder Woman comes in and saves the day. Like, no, everybody was there because they were legitimate heroes and they had a role to fill. So if you take the same approach, we can get a whole bunch of good stuff out. But I mean, it's tough. They've been on this train for a very long time. We're like, no, we want to be taken seriously. We don't want them to think this is kid stuff. And it's always the same route. You always take the kid stuff and you make it dark. And once you make it dark, it's only for adults. Because the kids will look. The kids will look and be like, nah, this isn't for us. They know it. Okay. And it's not the kids won't read stuff that's serious, because plenty of that manga stuff is like really tough. But or
Yeah.
even the stuff we were reading. If you were reading Frank Miller's Daredevil run, that was not lightweight stuff. Yeah. But we knew what was for us, and then you knew the stuff that was for the adults, and you were not going to interpose the two. You were going to be an adult soon enough, plenty of time to deal with that when you were an adult. But the approach is just they can't get it right. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to do at the end of the day. But yeah, I agree with you. I would just like to see some classic superhero stuff. without doing the Justice League Unlimited thing, but we can focus on some classic superheroes without sweating Batman every 5 seconds. There's plenty of heroes that we could focus on. I would love to see something like that. I mean, that much I'll give to them, that with the Creature Commandos, they are focusing on some guys who don't normally get any light, but this is still very much in the vein of Suicide Squad, who have already gotten plenty of light recently.
Yeah, yeah, they have the almost same dynamic, and just saying, well, we're just gonna put it into a. This is something we have to do for the DC universe, and it's just like, oh, we're just getting these guys. So if people are running under Harley and Ivy, which is I think they've totally destroyed the dynamic that could be a viable dynamic until just two zany girls. I guess that works too. But I just thought the dynamic that Harley is a thorn in Ivy's side, and they're trying to do stuff. They're trying to do criminal stuff, and Harley is just not the person to kind of be around. But now they're turning into, the lipstick lesbian love affair, which we can't say. Those three L's. Yeah. What do you mean? I didn't come up with the term, but no, the patriarchy did. Anyway, we're getting out of here. Spinner rack. You there? Are you there? Did I lose you?
Out.
Out.